I have to ask about Conor Benn, and we talked about him last time we spoke. He's now submitted evidence to UKAD, who work with the British Boxing Board of Control. They're going through their process, but it still seems like his team are trying to make fights for Conor Benn, not necessarily in the UK, of course. What do you think of that? Some people have criticised the ethical aspect of trying to make fights for someone who's still under investigation.
Well, he has to make a living. He is a fighter. He believes he's not guilty. We did our own process in the WBC, the clean boxing program, made the ruling, and it is clear. We have contacted UKAD numerous occasions without any single response. So we don't know. We don't really have anything to do. That's their own process, and that's where we are at. The WBC did a ruling based on the scientific findings of our own experts and our own process.
It must have been disappointing then for you that Conor Benn contradicted your report, because your report cleared him to fight, which is a good thing for him, but he didn't agree with it. He said laboratory concerns, which you ruled out, or not you personally, but your process ruled out any concerns about the VADA accredited laboratories. You guys came to the conclusion that it must be due to overconsumption of eggs based on the findings scientifically. He said that can't be true. Were you disappointed that his version of events did not support the WBC ruling?
No, I don't care. We did our job, and whatever him or his lawyers or his team want to say, that's up to them. Our job was finalized when we did our ruling.
And do you remain 100% confident in the ruling that there were no issues with the laboratory conditions?
100%, otherwise we would not have ruled. That was a good, solid process. The laboratory is WADA accredited, flawless history, and absolutely there's no situation. So I'm absolutely solid on that.
Now, just moving on, we saw recently negotiations for a rematch between Canelo, the undisputed super middleweight champion, and Dimitri Bivol have come to nothing, unfortunately. Bivol's camp claimed that they were offered the same purse as they were for the first fight, which of course Bivol won. Just before we get onto that, would Bivol have been able to challenge for the WBC belt at 168 pounds if they'd agreed a rematch?
No, unfortunately, Bivol is from Russia. He's considered Russian. The WBC has an absolute ban on boxing in Russia and Russian boxers. We have a process where fighters can submit an application to be reviewed. Bivol never submitted anything. So for the WBC, we cannot approve Bivol to fight for the WBC title.
And will this rule remain in existence until the conflict in Ukraine comes to an end?
Yes, there is no boxing in Ukraine. The WBC built a sporting complex with the Ukraine authorities coming from our convention 2018. It was going to be officially open May 2020. May 22. Very unfortunately, the war began, and then the complex was destroyed by an attack. So have so many gyms, sporting complexes. There is no boxing in Ukraine. Until that is changed, there is not going to be any boxing in Russia for the WBC.
Do you have some sympathy for the Russian boxers? I know it's not just boxing because it happens in other sports, but that they're restricted from their competition because of something their state is doing, their government.
Yes, absolutely. The boxers, the trainers, the promoters, the ring officials, all the boxing community, they are victims for the aggression that their country is taking place. I have so many friends in Russia, and I feel terrible for their situation, but Russia is the aggressor. He's the one invading a country. Russia is the one killing so many innocent people, kids, elderly, millions of Ukrainians fleeing out of the country, millions of people living in fear every single day. And we empathize with peace. We do not support war, and this is the WBC position, and it is not me talking, it is the whole world, the whole boxing community of the world talking.
Do you get a sense that putting restrictions on Russian athletes, not just in boxing but in other sports, is having an impact on the conflict, that it's changing minds inside the Kremlin, that it's putting pressure on them?
We don't know about that. This is not a political matter for us. It is a humanistic position. It is a moral position, and it is a position which we feel comfortable. But as I said, it's a sports decision, not a political, because Ukraine, it has no boxing. Until they don't have boxing, we will not allow boxing in Russia.
And just to end on a more positive note, a fight that boxing fans have wanted to see for years now is finally going to happen at the end of July between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. Errol Spence obviously holds 3 belts, including the WBC title at welterweight. How relieved and excited are you by the fact that these two have finally put pen to paper and they will, God willing, cross swords at the end of July?
We're very happy. We were convinced that these are the top welterweights. This is Sugar Ray Leonard against Tommy Hearns of the modern era. It's a great fight. It's going to be sensational. And I'm very happy for the fighters, for the boxing industry, for the fans. And this is an example that fights can be done. So we will continue to work. We had a lot of flexibility in the WBC administration in order to have this fight happen. So I feel happy and proud of it.